Yemen's president has transferred power to a new leadership council. The 8-member body is going to take over all presidential duties, including peace talks with Houthi rebels. Well, we're joined now by Elisabeth Kendall, who's in Geneva. She's a senior research fellow at Oxford University. She's also the chairperson of a youth organisation in eastern Yemen. Good to have you back on Al Jazeera, ma'am. Thank you very much indeed. What's driving this decision, do you think?
I think this decision is driven by the recognition that change and rapprochement with the Houthis was never going to happen under the leadership of President Hadi. It's worth remembering that he's now been in power for just over 10 years, and there were serious questions over his support base and his legitimacy. When he was voted in 2012, it's worth noting that he was the sole election candidate and that he was the former president, Saleh's deputy, so he didn't really represent a transition. And his term ran out in 2014, at least his electoral term. And of course, finally, he resides in Riyadh. So he's had 7 years of war to try to resolve this issue, and he hasn't. Probably also the arrival of President Zelensky in Ukraine and his very articulate and active role in trying to solve the crisis there through President Hadi's incompetence into sharp relief. And there was a realization that good leadership is what's required to galvanize forces on the ground and to win popular support.
If I understand what you're saying correctly, it sounds like this was not necessarily President Hadi's own decision, that this was something that's been foisted upon him.
I think that's probably right. What it does mean is that there's a dilution of the leadership. It's going to be spread out more equally. And I think it's worth noting some striking and important elements in the new presidential council. It has 8 members, half of them are from the north, half from the south, and it includes significantly the head of the Southern Separatist Group, the Southern Transitional Council, Aidarus Az-Zubaydi. That's very important for getting the United Arab Emirates and its locally engaged forces on side in the south. They never favoured Hadi. And perhaps even more significantly, the new council excludes the former vice president, Ali Mohsen Al-Ahmar. And he was a very controversial figure, unpopular in the south, but also a complete showstopper for ever reaching some kind of rapprochement with the Houthis, because he was largely considered responsible for the 6 wars that the Yemeni government waged against the Houthis in 2004 to 2010. So that at least presents the removal of a major obstacle to peace. So I guess, in short, this does have potential to be a game changer.
Yeah, the obstacle, as you say, the obstacles, some of them at least, are being removed, but the talks are still going on in Riyadh. The Houthis are not engaged with those talks as yet. Do you think that this is going to have any significant impact on being able to move some sort of negotiation between the Houthis and the coalition forward?
Yes, that is the key question. I think that in the short term, the Houthis are unlikely to welcome this because it stands to weaken their position by uniting the anti-Houthi forces against them. But that said, the status quo was going nowhere anyway. And I think over time, the Houthis could become more open to a political process, especially in the face of stronger opposition. I think we need to look out for perhaps 3 things in how this new presidential council pans out. Is it going to be successful in consolidating support amongst the anti-Houthi camp? Is it going to be willing to compromise with the Houthis? And will it be able to produce a clear and accountable program for governing Yemen?
It's going to be an interesting few months. Elisabeth Kendall, thank you very much indeed for your time.
You're welcome.